What if I told you that she saw her own disappearance before it happened? That she woke up in the middle of the night, her heart racing after experiencing something that seemed too real to be just a dream. And, most disturbingly, it all became reality, exactly as she had seen it. Would you believe it, or would you say it was just a terrifying coincidence? This is one of those cases that challenges everything we think we know about premonitions, destiny, and the mysteries of the human mind. We're not talking about a fictional story created to scare people, but a real case that happened to an ordinary person, like you and me. A woman who, days before disappearing without a trace, had a dream so vivid and detailed that it made her wake up trembling. And the most chilling part? She told this dream to people close to her. She described the exact place, the sounds, the sensations, everything. And when she finally disappeared, it was precisely in that same place she had seen in her nightmares. Now imagine for a second you wake up startled, sweating profusely after dreaming about something terrible happening to you. In the dream, you recognize a specific place, perhaps a street, a park, an abandoned building. You feel the danger, the anguish, the fear taking over every part of your body. You wake up and think, it was just a nightmare. But what if, days later, you found yourself in that exact place? What if everything started to unfold exactly as you had dreamed? Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever felt that strange sensation of déjà vu, as if you had already lived that moment before? Because that's exactly what happened to her. And what makes this case even more unsettling is that it wasn't a vague or confusing dream, the kind you can barely remember in the morning. No, this dream had precise details, colors, smells, even conversations she could clearly hear. It was as if she were watching a movie of her own future, a dark and terrifying future that she couldn't avoid, no matter how hard she tried. In the days leading up to her disappearance, she was visibly shaken. People around her noticed changes in her behavior, constant nervousness, a distant look, as if she were always expecting something bad to happen. Did she try to warn them? Did she try to change her route, avoid that specific place that haunted her in the early hours of the morning? These are questions we will explore together throughout this video, because every detail matters when we are trying to understand something that seems to completely defy logic. What you are about to discover may surprise you, give you chills, and perhaps make you rethink everything you believe about dreams and premonitions. Because this is not just another disappearance case, it's a case that forces us to question, does our subconscious know things that our conscious mind hasn't yet been able to process? Are there signs around us that we ignore simply because we don't want to believe them? Or do some of us truly possess the ability to see beyond the present, to grasp fragments of a future yet to come? Stay with me until the end, because we're going to delve deep into this story. We're going to learn who this woman was, understand the chilling details of the dream she had, and follow the day of her disappearance step by step. We're going to analyze every impossible coincidence, hear what the investigations revealed, and above all, try to understand how something like this could happen. Because if there's one thing this case teaches us, it's that reality can be much stranger and more frightening than any fiction. And perhaps, just perhaps, our dreams are more than simple creations of our imagination. And before we continue to unravel this disturbing mystery, I need to make a request from the heart. You know when you watch something that really moves you, that makes you think, question, even lose sleep over it? Well, that's exactly the purpose of this channel, to bring you real stories that take us out of our comfort zone and make us see the world in a different way. If this topic resonates with you, if you've also had a strange dream that seemed too real, or if you know someone who has gone through a similar experience, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. I read every comment, every account, every story you share. And often, the comments are as chilling as the cases I present here. This exchange, this community we are building together, is what gives life to all this work. And if you're enjoying the content, click that like button below. It seems simple, but this small action makes a huge difference. It shows the algorithm that this type of content deserves to be seen by more people, by other curious minds like yours, who aren't afraid to explore the darker, more inexplicable side of reality. Your like isn't just a number. It's a vote of confidence in the work I do here. And if you're not yet, subscribe to the channel. Now is the perfect time. Because every week I bring you real cases that will leave you questioning everything, from mysterious disappearances to impossible premonitions, unsolved crimes, and stories that science still can't explain. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content, which, let's face it, isn't easy to find elsewhere with the depth and respect these cases deserve. Don't forget to activate the notification bell too, because you won't want to miss any episode of this journey through the most intriguing mysteries of the real world. Now that you're part of this community, let's return to the case that brought us here, because it's time to meet the woman behind this chilling story. And I guarantee that when you understand who she really was, the impact of this story will become even more profound. Her name was Amanda Torres, and she was only 27 years old when she disappeared. 27 years old. Think about it. That's the phase of life when we're still building everything, discovering who we really are, making plans, dreaming about the future. Amanda was no different. She was an ordinary woman, the kind you could find at the supermarket, at the gym, at the corner cafe. And that's exactly what makes this story so disturbing, because she could be any one of us. Amanda grew up in a middle-class family in a quiet town in the interior of Minas Gerais. The middle child of 3 siblings, she was always described by those close to her as having a strong personality, but at the same time being extremely caring. The kind of person you can count on when you need them, you know? She worked as an elementary school teacher, and those who knew her work said that the children adored her. She had a gift for transforming classes into special moments, for making each student feel seen and important. Her colleagues commented that she arrived early every day, always with a smile on her face, always willing to help anyone who needed it. But Amanda was much more than just her profession. She had dreams, aspirations, a whole life ahead of her. Recently, she had started a photography course, an old passion that she was finally putting into practice. On weekends, she used to go out with her camera around the city, capturing everyday moments, unfamiliar faces, landscapes that went unnoticed by most people. It was as if she had a special eye for seeing beauty where others saw only the ordinary. This search for the hidden truth in the simple things of life was something that defined much of her personality. Amanda lived alone in a small but cozy apartment, which she had decorated herself with great care. Plants in every corner, framed photographs she had taken herself, books scattered across the shelves. She enjoyed her independence, the freedom to do things at her own pace, but that didn't mean she was lonely, quite the opposite. Amanda had a close circle. Our friends, people she met regularly, with whom she shared laughter, vented her feelings and made plans for the future. She had been in a relationship for almost 2 years with Rafael, an engineer she met through mutual friends. They talked about marriage, about building something solid together, about starting a family. It was a stable relationship, the kind you look at from the outside and think, these two really complement each other. Amanda's routine was simple and predictable. She woke up every day around 6 in the morning, made a strong coffee, checked social media for a few minutes while drinking it, and then left for work. Classes started at 7:30, and she always made sure to arrive at least 15 minutes early to organize the classroom and greet the students calmly. At lunchtime, she usually ate at school, taking the opportunity to correct some assignments or chat with her colleagues. In the afternoon, when she didn't have pedagogical meetings, she would go home, rest a little, and often go for a walk in the park near her apartment. It was during these moments, during her walks, that she said she felt most connected to herself, most at peace. On Tuesday and Thursday nights, Amanda had photography class. This was a part of the week she eagerly anticipated because it was where she felt she was investing in herself, developing a skill that could become something bigger in the future. She even told her friends that she dreamed of one day leaving the classroom and living exclusively from photography, traveling the world, capturing stories through her lens. It was a big dream, but she believed it was possible. And when Amanda believed in something, she pursued it with determination. Weekends were reserved for Rafael and her family. She was very close to her parents and siblings and made a point of visiting them at least once a week. Family lunches, long conversations on the porch of her parents' house, those laughs that only those with a good family relationship know. Amanda's mother, Donna Claudia, always said that her daughter was the light of the house, the one who brought joy to any room. Her father, Seu Antonio, was proud of his daughter's determination, the way she led her own life with responsibility and courage. It was a normal life, full of love, dreams, and plans. Amanda wasn't involved in anything dangerous. She had no known enemies. She wasn't going through any deep crisis. She was just a woman, living her life, making her choices, walking towards her goals. And that's exactly why what happened to her is so terrifying, because when we look at her journey, at the simplicity and beauty of the life she built, we realize that no one is immune to the inexplicable. No one is free from the dark mysteries that sometimes invade our reality without warning. People who knew Amanda describe that specific period, the weeks before her disappearance, as a time of subtle transformation. She remained the same loving and devoted person, but something was different, an unease she couldn't quite explain. She even mentioned to a close friend that she was feeling strange, as if something was about to change in her life, but she couldn't explain what. It was a vague, undefined but persistent feeling. And then came the dreams. It wasn't the first time Amanda had had vivid dreams. She had always been one of those people who dreamed a lot and could remember the details in the morning. But these dreams were different. They started about 2 weeks before her disappearance, and they were always about the same place, always with the same feeling of imminent danger. She would wake up startled, her heart racing, and it would take her a few minutes to convince herself that it had just been a nightmare. But as the days went by, the dreams became more intense, more real, more detailed. And it was when she had that specific dream, the one that seemed like a terrible revelation about her own future, that everything changed. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it's essential that you understand exactly what Amanda saw in that dream. Every detail, every sensation, every element that caused her to wake up absolutely terrified. If you've made it this far and are feeling that chill down your spine, comment below. This is too real, because what comes next will leave you speechless. It was a Tuesday night when Amanda had the dream that would change everything. She had returned from her photography class around 10 o'clock, eaten a light dinner, showered, and gone to bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. But as soon as sleep came, she was transported to a place that seemed both familiar and completely strange. In the dream, Amanda was walking alone along a dirt road, surrounded by dense vegetation on both sides. The sky was heavy, with grey clouds that seemed about to unleash rain at any moment. She could smell the damp earth, that characteristic smell that comes before a storm. And this is important. She wasn't just seeing the scenery, she was feeling it, smelling it, experiencing everything with an intensity that is not common in normal dreams. The road was narrow, and Amanda had a clear feeling that she was searching for something, or perhaps running from something. She couldn't quite explain it, but there was an urgency in the air, a need to move, to keep walking, even without knowing where she was going. As she walked, she noticed a building in the distance, on the right side of the road. It was an old abandoned house with broken windows and a rusty iron gate that was ajar, swaying slightly in the wind. The paint on the walls was peeling, revealing the brick underneath, and vines were climbing up the sides of the building, as if nature were slowly reclaiming that forgotten space. The most disturbing thing is that Amanda recognized the place. In the dream, she knew exactly where she was, even though she had never been there before in real life. It was as if her brain had access to information she was consciously unaware of. She knew that the house was in the rural area of the city, in a sparsely frequented area, far from the urban center. And she also knew that she needed to get there, even though she was immensely afraid of what she might find. As she approached the house, the details became clearer and more frightening. She could see an old wooden swing in front of the house, hanging from a tree by frayed ropes that looked like they were about to snap. The swing moved on its own, back and forth, even without a strong enough wind to justify that movement. Amanda felt her heart racing in her chest, that physical sensation of panic that we all know, but intensified in a way she had never experienced before. Then she heard it, a low sound almost imperceptible at first, but which grew clearer as she approached. It was like a whisper, or perhaps several voices whispering at the same time, creating a dark and incomprehensible melody. She couldn't understand the words, but the feeling those whispers evoked was pure terror. It was as if those voices were calling out to her specifically, as if they knew her name, her story, her deepest fears. Amanda tried to stop, tried to turn around and run in the opposite direction, but her body wouldn't obey. It was as if something was controlling her movements, forcing her to keep walking towards that abandoned house. Her legs moved independently of her will, step after step, getting closer and closer to the half-open gate. And then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. There were footprints on the dirt floor. Recent footprints, still fresh, leading from the road to the entrance of the house. And they were sneaker footprints, the same model of sneakers she was wearing in the dream, the same footprints she was leaving at that moment. When she finally reached the gate, Amanda looked up and saw something written on the wall of the house with dripping red paint, as if it had been done in a hurry. It was only 3 words, but 3 words she would never forget. "You're not coming back." The revelation of those words in the dream was like a punch to the gut. She understood at that exact moment that this was no ordinary dream, that something much deeper was happening, something that transcended logic and reason. And then, just as she was about to walk through the gate and enter the property, she heard a scream. It wasn't someone else's scream. It was her. It was as if she were watching herself from outside her own body, seeing a future version of herself inside that house, desperately screaming for help that would never come. It was at that moment that Amanda woke up. She woke up sweating, her hands trembling uncontrollably, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst from her chest. It was 3:47 a.m., and she couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. She sat up in bed with all the lights on, trying to process what she had just experienced. It wasn't an ordinary nightmare. It was something different, something with weight, substance, a prophetic quality that she couldn't ignore, no matter how hard she tried to convince herself it was just a dream. The following morning, during breakfast, Amanda called Raphael. She needed to tell someone, she needed to get it all out before she went crazy. Raphael answered sleepily, but as soon as he noticed her agitated state, he became completely alert. Amanda described the dream in minute detail, from the smell of damp earth to the words written on the wall. Raphael tried to calm her down, saying it was probably just anxiety, perhaps a reflection of work stress or normal daily worries. He suggested she try therapy, as it could help her process these experiences better. But Amanda wasn't convinced. She knew, with a certainty that came from somewhere deep inside her, that this was more than just stress or anxiety. It was a warning, a premonition, an open window to a future she desperately wanted to avoid. She also told her best friend, Juliana, who worked with her at school. Juliana had a different reaction. Instead of trying to rationalize or minimize the dream, she took it seriously. Juliana had always been more open to spiritual matters and to the idea that there are things in the universe that we cannot explain with reason. She suggested that Amanda write down all the details of the dream, that she keep a diary of these episodes in case they continued to happen. And they continued. In the following days, Amanda had the same dream 3 more times, each time with more details, each time more real, more intense. The 3rd time, she managed to see the house number on the facade, partially covered by vegetation, but still legible, number 73. She was also able to identify more clearly the approximate location of that dirt road. It was near an old rural district, about 15 kilometers from the city center, an area she knew by name but had never visited. The transformation in Amanda's behavior was remarkable. She, who had always been a balanced and rational person, began to show clear signs of anxiety and fear. She avoided leaving home unnecessarily, compulsively checked maps on her cell phone to make sure she wasn't near that rural area, and began to have difficulty sleeping. People around her began to notice that something was wrong. At school, her classmates commented that she seemed distant, less present in conversations, always with that look of someone carrying an invisible weight. The psychological impact of those dreams was clear to everyone who knew Amanda. But what no one imagined, not even she, was that it wasn't just a warning. It was a script, a detailed script of what was about to happen. and the date set for everything to come true was approaching faster than anyone could have imagined. If you're feeling that shiver now, if you're realizing that this story is much deeper than it seemed at first, and here is one of the most frustrating, and at the same time most human parts of this whole story. Amanda tried. She really tried to do something about it. But we live in a society that values rationality above all else, that distrusts intuition, that ridicules those who claim to have hunches or premonitions. And it was precisely this collective skepticism that may have cost her her life. After having the dream for the third time, Amanda made a decision. She wasn't going to simply wait for it to pass. She needed to act, to do something, anything that could change the outcome of the story she felt was being written. The first thing she did was schedule an appointment with a psychologist. She thought that perhaps there was something in her subconscious trying to process some deep trauma or fear that she wasn't consciously acknowledging. The appointment was scheduled for the following week, but Amanda felt she needed answers sooner. She spoke to Raphael again, this time with more urgency in her voice. She asked him to take her to that rural area, to the road she saw in her dreams. She needed to see with her own eyes if that place really existed, or if it was just a figment of her imagination. Raphael, concerned about her emotional state, agreed. They arranged to go on Saturday morning when they would both be free. But here is the first sign that was ignored. Raphael didn't take it as seriously as he should have. For him, it was just an exercise to calm his girlfriend down, to prove that the dream place didn't exist, so she could finally rest. During that week, Amanda also tried to talk to her parents. She called her mother on a Wednesday night and began to tell her about the dreams. Mrs. Claudia listened attentively, but her reaction was exactly what you would expect from a concerned mother. She suggested that Amanda was working too much, that she needed to take a few days off, rest, travel a bit. Her mother even offered for her to spend a weekend at their house in the countryside, far from everything, to clear her mind. It was an offer full of love and good intentions, but completely disconnected from the gravity of what Amanda was trying to communicate. The father was even more skeptical. When Amanda mentioned that she thought the dream was some kind of warning, her father, Antonio, gave a nervous laugh and said something like, "My daughter, you're watching too many horror movies. A dream is a dream. It doesn't mean anything." He wasn't being cruel or insensitive. He was just reacting the way most people would. Amanda's best friend, Juliana, was the only person who truly validated her feelings. But even Juliana, despite believing that something important was happening, didn't know exactly how to help. She suggested that Amanda seek out a spiritual center, that she talk to people who understand energy, premonitions, and spiritual connections. Amanda even considered this possibility, but there was a part of her that resisted. She had always been a down-to-earth person who believed more in science than in the supernatural. And here is the existential drama Amanda faced in those days. She was trapped between two worlds. On one side, her rationality telling her that dreams don't predict the future, that she was just stressed and needed psychological help. On the other side, her intuition screaming that something very real and very dangerous was waiting for her in that abandoned house in the countryside. It was an internal battle that left her exhausted, confused, not knowing who or what to trust. At school, Amanda subtly tried to share her experience with some co-workers during break time. The reaction was mixed. Some found it interesting and shared their own stories of strange dreams, but no one truly grasped the depth of what she was going through. One co-worker even joked, saying, "Oh, Amanda, if I believed all my nightmares, I wouldn't leave the house anymore." The laughter that followed that comment was like a stab in her heart. What's most frustrating when we look back is realizing there was time to change the course of events. If at least one person had stopped, looked her in the eye and said, "I believe you, let's do something about it," perhaps this story would have had a different ending. But that's not what happened, and that's one of the most painful revelations of this case. Sometimes tragedy could be avoided if we simply listened to each other more seriously, with more empathy, without so much judgment. Amanda even considered going to the police. She thought about filing a preventative police report, explaining that she was having premonitions about a possible danger. But when she shared this idea with Raphael, he discouraged her. How do you go to a police station and say, "Look, I had a dream where I disappeared into an abandoned house in the countryside. The truth is, the system isn't prepared to deal with this kind of situation. There's no protocol for premonitions." Then Amanda froze. She knew something was wrong. She felt deep down that real danger was approaching, but she had no tools, no support, no clear course of action. And the more she talked about the dreams, the more the people around her began to look at her with the wrong kind of concern. It was the kind of concern that comes when you think someone is having a nervous breakdown. There was a particularly painful moment when Raphael suggested that perhaps Amanda should consider taking some time off work. He said it with all the love and care in the world, but the impact of those words was devastating. Amanda realized that even the person who loved her most was beginning to doubt her sanity. And when you realize that nobody believes in you, you start to doubt yourself too. This is one of the most tragic parts of the story. Amanda began to question her own experience. She thought, "Am I really going crazy?" And the more she doubted herself, the more vulnerable she became. Saturday arrived, the day Raphael had promised to take her to the countryside. But on Friday night, he called saying an unexpected work commitment had come up. He apologized profusely and promised they would go the following weekend without fail. Amanda said it was fine, but inside she felt a tightness in her chest. Behind the scenes of this story, what we realize is that there were a series of small decisions, crucial moments where the course of events could have changed, but none of those things happened, and with each missed opportunity, Amanda got closer and closer to the day that would change everything. If you've ever been in a situation where you felt something strongly, but no one believed you, write this down. I would have believed her, because what comes next is the moment when all those missed opportunities converge on a single fateful day. It was a Tuesday, May 23rd. Amanda woke up at 6 in the morning, as she always did. The alarm clock rang, she turned it off, and lay there for a few seconds, staring at the ceiling. There was a strange feeling in the air, that kind of unease you can't explain but that stays there, persistent, as if the universe itself were trying to warn you about something. She picked up her cell phone and checked her messages. Raphael had sent a warm good morning. She replied with a heart emoji, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. During breakfast, Amanda almost dropped her cup twice. Her hands trembled slightly, and she didn't know if it was because of the accumulated fatigue of the last few weeks or something deeper, something primal trying to scream through her body. She looked out the kitchen window and noticed that the sky was heavy, laden with grey clouds, exactly like in the dream. Her heart skipped a beat. She tried to calm herself, take a deep breath, tell herself it was just a coincidence. After all, it was the rainy season. Grey clouds were normal at that time of year. She got ready for work on autopilot. She brushed her teeth, put on lipstick, grabbed her purse, checked if she had her car keys. Everything mechanical, everything automatic, while her mind was completely elsewhere. At 7 o'clock, she left home and got into her car. The route to school was always the same, about 15 minutes away. But that day, something different happened. Halfway there was a detour. A sign indicated that the main street was closed due to emergency roadworks. Amanda would have to take an alternate route. And this is where the story starts to get truly terrifying. The indicated detour led directly towards the rural area of the city, exactly in the direction of that dirt road she saw in her dreams every night. Amanda felt her blood run cold. She pulled the car over to the side of the road, her hands gripping the steering wheel, her heart pounding erratically. She thought about calling someone, Raphael, Juliana, anyone. But what would they say? That she was afraid to take a detour? That would sound ridiculous. She looked in. The rearview mirror, considered turning around and going back home, calling the school and saying she was sick. But there was that voice of reason, that voice that society puts inside us, telling her that she was being irrational, paranoid, that she needed to move on and stop feeding these absurd fears. So she took a deep breath and decided to continue. But she made a crucial decision. She turned on her cell phone's voice recorder. If something happened, at least there would be a record. She placed the phone in the dashboard holder with the audio recording and began driving along the alternate route. As she drove, she narrated aloud what she was seeing, where she was, as if leaving breadcrumbs in case she needed to be found. The paved road grew narrower and narrower until, at a certain point, it turned into a dirt road. And it was at that moment that Amanda realized that was the road. The same road from her dreams. The trees on both sides, the dense vegetation, the smell of damp, earth wafting through the air conditioning vents. Everything was the same, exactly the same. She stopped the car again, this time with her hands trembling violently. In the audio recording that was recovered later, you can hear her rapid breathing. You can feel the panic taking over. She says, her voice trembling, "I'm on Dream Road. This can't be happening. This isn't possible." She considers calling the police, but what would they say? That she was having déjà vu, that her dreams were coming. True, she knew no one would take her seriously, that they would probably think she was having a breakdown. Then Amanda made a decision that would change everything. Instead of turning back, she decided to continue. She needed to see. She needed to confirm if the house was also there, if all of this was real, or if her mind was playing tricks on her. It was as if an invisible force was pulling her forward, an almost compulsive need to confront that fear once and for all. Perhaps, she thought, if she saw that the house didn't exist, all that terror would finally end. She drove slowly, very slowly, her eyes fixed on every detail of the landscape, and then she saw it. On the right side of the road, exactly where she should have been in the dream, there was an old building, an abandoned house with broken windows, with a rusty iron gate, with vines climbing the walls, with a wooden swing hanging from a tree in front. Amanda stopped the car about 50 meters from the house. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Every detail, every element was there, physical, real, tangible. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. The dream had shown her a place that truly existed, a place she had never consciously visited in her life, but which was there waiting for her as if it had always known she was coming. In the recording, you hear her saying, "My God, it's here. It's exactly here." And then silence. A long, unsettling silence. What was she thinking at that moment? What battle was raging inside her head? The recording continues, and you hear the sound of the car door opening. Amanda got out of the vehicle. Why did she go down? That's a question everyone who knows this story asks. Why, after confirming that the place from her dreams was real, didn't she simply go back, call the authorities, tell someone? The truth is, nobody knows for sure what went through her mind at that moment. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the need to fully understand what was happening. Or maybe it was that same force that pulled her in her dreams, that inexplicable compulsion to get closer, to cross that gate. Amanda walked slowly toward the house. In the audio recording, you can hear her footsteps on the ground, the creak of the gate being pushed open, and then her voice lower now, almost a whisper. It has the same words. On the wall, it's written. It says the same thing. She had found the inscription. The 3 words in red ink. "You're not coming back." And then something happened. You hear a sound on the recording like someone else approaching. Amanda says, "Is anyone here?" Silence. And then she shouts, "Who's there?" The recording becomes garbled. There are sounds of fighting, quick footsteps, something falling to the ground, and then nothing. The recording continues for another 20 minutes, but only captures silence and, in the distance, the sound of a car driving away. When Raphael tried to call Amanda around 9 in the morning because she hadn't arrived at school and nobody knew where she was, the phone only went to voicemail. When the police finally located her car hours later, following the GPS signal, they found the vehicle parked on the dirt road, with the driver's door open, the key still in the ignition and the cell phone on the dashboard still recording. But Amanda was nowhere to be found. If your heart is racing right now, if you're feeling the same anguish that everyone felt when they heard this story, now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when the investigators began to analyze the details of the case, when they took the diary where Amanda had meticulously noted every aspect of her dreams and compared it with what they found at the real scene, the conclusion was absolutely chilling. We're not talking about vague coincidences or superficial similarities. We're talking about a correspondence so precise, so detailed, that it defies any rational explanation. Let's start with the location. In Amanda's diary, she had described the dirt road with dense vegetation on both sides. When the police arrived at the location following her car's GPS, they found exactly that. But it doesn't end there. Amanda had written that the house was on the right side of the road, approximately 200 meters after a sharp left turn, and it was, precisely in that position. About 230 meters to be exact, a difference of only 30 meters from what she had seen in the dream. The house itself was an even more chilling match. Amanda had sketched a drawing of the building in her diary. She wasn't an artist, so the drawing was simple, but the elements were all there. 2 broken windows in the front, a wooden door partially torn from its hinges, vines climbing up the left wall, and a roof with several tiles missing. When the experts took photos of the property, the resemblance was undeniable. The swing. That wooden swing, hanging from the tree that moved on its own in Amanda's dreams. It was there, exactly as she described it, hanging by old worn ropes from a tree branch about 5 meters from the property entrance. Investigators tested the swing, and it did indeed move easily, even with the slightest breeze. But the most disturbing thing of all was the words on the wall. Amanda had written in her diary, in capital letters and underlined 3 times, "You are not coming back." She said those words were written in dripping red ink on the outside wall of the house. And when the police arrived, there were the words, exactly as she had described, in dripping red ink. Now, here's where the story reaches a level of impossibility that makes you question everything. The experts analyzed the paint on the wall, and they discovered something shocking. The paint was at least 6 months old. 6 months. That means those words were already there long before Amanda started having the dreams. Someone had written them on that abandoned wall half a year earlier, and somehow Amanda saw those words in her dreams weeks before she physically got there. How is that possible? Seriously, think about it for a second. How can a person dream about specific details of a place they've never visited? We're not talking about something generic like an old house. We're talking about precise details. The exact position on the road, the number of broken windows, the vines on the left side specifically, the swing, and especially those 3 prophetic words written on the wall. But there's more. Amanda had noted in her diary that in her dream the sky was heavy with grey clouds. On the day of her disappearance, May 23rd, the sky was exactly like that. The weather forecast for that region indicated the possibility of heavy rain in the morning. She had also written about a specific smell in the air. Amanda described it as a smell of damp earth mixed with something slightly sweet and at the same time unsettling. When Raphael went to the location a few days later, he confirmed that the smell was there, exactly as she had described. They later discovered that the sweet smell came from wildflowers that grew abundantly in that area. In her dreams, Amanda always felt she arrived at that place around 8 o'clock in the morning. She didn't see a clock in the dream, but she had this clear perception of the time. Through analysis of the audio recording from her cell phone, investigators were able to establish a precise timeline. Amanda arrived at the abandoned house at 8:17 in the morning. Only 17 minutes difference, and there's another absolutely chilling detail. Amanda had written in her diary that in her dreams she always heard whispers, that sound of multiple voices speaking at the same time. In the audio recording recovered from her cell phone, forensic experts managed to isolate some sounds that initially seemed to be just background noise. But when they amplified and filtered these sounds, they discovered that there was, in fact, something that resembled whispers. The sequence of events also corresponded exactly to what Amanda had described. In her dreams, she always arrived by car, stopped a certain distance from the house, got out of the vehicle, walked towards the gate, pushed the creaking gate, saw the words on the wall, and then perceived the presence of something or someone. In real life, that is exactly what happened. The audio recording captures each of these moments in the same order that she had documented in her diary. When investigators showed the diary to experts in psychology, neuroscience, and even parapsychology, no one could offer a satisfactory explanation. Some suggested that perhaps Amanda had visited that place before in her childhood, and her subconscious was bringing those memories to the surface. But they investigated further. Amanda had never been to that region before. Her family had no connection to that rural area. The impact of this revelation was devastating for everyone involved in the case. Raphael blamed himself for not taking the dream seriously. If he had gone with her that Saturday, If they had discovered the house together a few days earlier, perhaps Amanda would never have gone alone. The parents were heartbroken by the hidden truth that lay within their daughter's dreams. Amanda's journey in those last few weeks was marked by a struggle between trusting her own intuition and giving in to the social pressure that says premonitions don't exist. And in the end, reality proved her absolutely right. If you're only now realizing how impossible this correspondence is to ignore, write in the comments, "Premonitions are real," because now we need to understand what the official investigation has discovered. Amanda Torres's disappearance was officially reported at 9:45 a.m. on May 23rd. The person who called the police was the principal of the school where Amanda worked. She hadn't arrived for class, wasn't answering her cell phone, and this was completely out of character for her. Amanda was extremely punctual and responsible. If she was going to be absent, she always gave advance notice. The principal sensed that something was wrong and decided to contact the authorities immediately. Raphael was contacted shortly afterward. He had also been trying to speak with Amanda unsuccessfully since 8:30. When he received the call from the police, his stomach churned. He immediately provided all the information he had, including details about the disturbing dreams she had been having in recent weeks. The police officers noted everything down, but it's possible to perceive in the initial reports that there was a certain skepticism regarding this part of the story. For them, at that moment, it was just another missing person case. Probably someone who had left voluntarily for some personal reason. The first step the police took was to track Amanda's cell phone signal. That's how they discovered the location of her car on that dirt road in the countryside. A patrol car was immediately dispatched to the location, arriving around 11 o'clock in the morning. What the police found was exactly what I've already described. The car parked, door open, key in the ignition, cell phone on the dashboard still recording audio. But no sign of Amanda. The area was immediately cordoned off and turned into a crime scene. The forensic team was called in and arrived at the location in the early afternoon. They searched every inch of the abandoned property. They looked for signs of a struggle, for blood, for any physical evidence that could indicate what had happened to Amanda. They found her footprints in the dirt, leading from the car to the house, past the gate. The footprints were clear, well-defined, and matched the shoe size Amanda was wearing. Inside the abandoned house, the situation became even more disturbing. The building had two main rooms and a narrow hallway. The floor was covered in dust, debris, and dry leaves that had entered through the broken windows. And there on the dusty floor of the main room were more footprints. Amanda's footprints, clearly identifiable by the same sneaker pattern. But there were also other footprints. Larger ones, from men's footwear, probably boots. These footprints overlapped Amanda's in several places, suggesting that she was not alone in that house. The experts collected samples of everything. They took molds of the footprints, photographed every angle, and collected fabric. Fibers they found stuck to rusty nails in the walls. There were subtle signs that someone had used that place recently. Some empty soda cans in a corner, relatively clean, without the accumulation of dirt that would be expected if they had been there for a long time. Cigarette butts, a piece of rope that appeared to have been recently cut. Amanda's cell phone audio recording became the most crucial piece of evidence in the investigation. Investigators listened to that recording hundreds of times, trying to capture every detail, every sound that could provide a clue. Besides Amanda's voice and the ambient sounds I already mentioned, there was that disturbing final moment. The sound of approaching footsteps, her voice asking who was there, and then sounds that seemed to indicate a physical struggle, something being dragged, a muffled scream, and then silence. Forensic audio experts worked for days on that recording. They managed to isolate a very specific sound that occurred about a minute before the fight. It was the sound of a car engine, not Amanda's car because hers was off. It was another vehicle approaching along the same dirt road. This confirmed what the footprints already suggested. There was definitely another person at that location. The police began investigating who owned the abandoned property. They discovered that the house belonged to a family that had moved from the area more than 10 years ago. The property was technically for sale, but no one ever showed any real interest in buying it. It was one of those forgotten places that deteriorate over time without anyone caring. The The former owners were located and interviewed. They had no connection to Amanda and knew nothing that could help the investigation. But then came an important revelation. Neighbors from nearby rural properties were interviewed, and one of them, a man in his 60s who lived about a kilometer away, said that in recent months he had seen a man circulating in that area, quite frequently. He described the individual as middle-aged, always wearing dark clothes, driving an old faded blue pickup truck. The neighbor had found it strange at the time, but didn't think much of it, thinking that perhaps it was someone interested in buying the property or just a hunter using the area. This description was turned into a composite sketch, and the police began searching for someone who fit that profile. They checked records of blue pickup trucks in the area, interviewed people, and showed them the composite sketch. There were some reports from people who thought they had seen someone similar, but nothing concrete enough to lead to a definitive identification. The physical search for Amanda continued for weeks. Teams with sniffer dogs scoured the entire rural area. Helicopters flew over the region with thermal cameras. Community volunteers organized themselves and searched on foot, scouring woods, secondary roads, anywhere she might be. But they found nothing. No sign of Amanda. No clothing, no personal belongings, nothing. The investigators also analyzed Amanda's personal life in search of anything that could explain what happened. They spoke with friends, family, and co-workers. They checked her social media, bank statements, and call history. They looked for enemies, conflicts, anything suspicious, and they found nothing. Amanda's life was exactly as it seemed. Simple, peaceful, with no involvement in anything illegal or dangerous. The case gained local and then national media attention. The story of the premonitory dreams caught people's attention, and soon television programs were covering the disappearance. This brought more visibility, but also attracted all sorts of crazy theories and supposed psychics offering help. The police had to filter hundreds of calls, separating potentially useful information from unfounded speculation. Months passed without significant progress. The case was classified as a disappearance with suspicion of violent crime but without a body, without a clear crime scene, without an identified suspect. The investigation reached a frustrating impasse. Raphael and Amanda's family made public appeals, offered rewards for information, and maintained pressure on the authorities not to close the case. Then, 6 months after the disappearance, there was a development. A man was arrested in another city for an unrelated crime. During the investigation of that other crime, the police found some objects in his house that raised suspicions. Among these objects was a camera, and when they analyzed the photos stored on that camera, they found images of that abandoned house. Several images, taken from different angles, some from inside the property. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when a case like this comes to light, when we have such a precise correspondence between dreams and reality, society is divided into different perspectives on what really happened. And each of these theories offers a completely different lens through which to understand not only Amanda's disappearance, but the very nature of human consciousness. Let's start with the most scientific and rational explanation. Psychologists and neuroscientists who analyzed the case proposed that what Amanda experienced could be a phenomenon known as anticipatory anxiety manifested through dreams. The idea is that our subconscious is constantly processing information from the environment, picking up subtle signals that our conscious mind ignores. Perhaps Amanda had, at some point in the past, briefly seen that house during a trip, or seen photos of it somewhere, and this information was stored in her subconscious. When her anxiety increased for whatever reason, her brain would have retrieved these forgotten memories and transformed them into dreams. This theory has some scientific backing. Studies show that our brain processes far more information than we can consciously perceive. The problem with this explanation in Amanda's case is that investigators meticulously examined her life history and found no prior connection to that area. No photos on social media, no travel records, nothing to suggest that she had been exposed to those images before. Another psychological explanation suggests that Amanda may have created a self-fulfilling prophecy. The idea here is that she dreamed of a generic, frightening-looking place. And when she happened to find an abandoned house that vaguely resembled the dream, her brain filled in the gaps, making the match seem more accurate than it actually was. The problem with this theory is that we have the diary. Amanda documented the details of her dreams before visiting the location, so it's not possible that she altered the memories after the fact. Now let's move on to explanations that enter the territory of the paranormal and the inexplicable. Parapsychologists and researchers of anomalous phenomena suggest that Amanda may have experienced what they call genuine premonition or precognition. The idea is that, under certain circumstances, some people are able to access information about future events. It is not known exactly how this would work, but there are theories ranging from quantum information fields to the possibility that consciousness is not limited by linear time as we understand it. There are documented cases throughout history of people reporting premonitory dreams that later came true. One of the most famous examples is the sinking of the Titanic, where dozens of people cancelled their tickets or reported nightmares about the disaster before it happened. Skeptics argue that these are merely cases of confirmation bias, where we remember the premonitions that came true and forget the thousands of dreams that never materialized. But proponents of this theory point out that the specificity and details of some of these cases, like Amanda's, go beyond what would be expected by mere coincidence. There is also a darker and more disturbing theory that some private investigators have raised. What if Amanda didn't have a premonition of her own disappearance, but was instead deliberately manipulated by someone who knew her dreams? Think about it. She shared the details of her dreams with several people, Raphael, Juliana, her parents, co-workers. What if one of these people, or someone close to them, gained access to this information and decided to use it against Amanda? This theory suggests that the perpetrator could have created a trap, using knowledge of her dreams to lure her to that specific location. This conspiracy theory gains traction when we consider the man who was arrested with photos of the abandoned house. Who was he? Why was he photographing that place? Did he have any connection to someone in Amanda's social circle? Investigators interrogated this man extensively, but he always maintained that he was merely exploring abandoned properties as a hobby. He provided alibis for the day of the disappearance that were partially verified, but not entirely solid. There is also a philosophical perspective on the matter. Some thinkers propose that we live in a universe where the past, present, and future coexist simultaneously, and that under certain conditions, usually in altered states of consciousness such as sleep, we can occasionally glimpse events that, from our linear point of view, have not yet happened, but which, in a timeless dimension of reality, already exist. And then there's the theory of pure statistical coincidence. Mathematicians argue that in a world with billions of people having millions of dreams every night, it's statistically inevitable that eventually someone will dream with details that, by pure chance, correspond to a real future event. It's like winning the lottery, extremely improbable for any specific individual, but guaranteed to happen to someone eventually. The problem with this explanation is that it offers no real comfort. Experts in different fields offered varying opinions. A neuroscientist consulted for the investigation said that while the human brain is capable of extraordinary feats, the specific details of Amanda's case go beyond what current neuroscience can comfortably explain. A forensic psychologist observed that Amanda's mental state in the weeks leading up to her disappearance showed signs of genuine stress, not of someone fabricating a story. The impact of this case on the scientific and paranormal community was significant. It generated debates, articles, and even some studies attempting to understand whether premonitions can be systematically studied. But the truth is that we haven't reached any definitive conclusions. And perhaps that's the most important revelation. There are things in the universe that we still don't understand, phenomena that challenge our established categories of possible and impossible. The journey of trying to understand what happened to Amanda inevitably leads us to question our own beliefs about consciousness, time, and reality. Do you believe that the future is already written somewhere, and sometimes we manage to glimpse it? Or do you think that all this is just our brain making connections where none exist? The truth is that each person who knows this story forms their own opinion based on their mindset, their life experiences, and what they choose to believe about the nature of existence. If you're in that zone where you no longer know what to believe, where all explanations seem both possible and insufficient, write this down. I can't explain it, because there's still another layer to this story that needs to be revealed. And here's something that will disturb you even more. Amanda wasn't the only one. When you start researching more deeply, when you delve into the files of unsolved cases and documented accounts from around the world, you discover a disturbing pattern of people who had specific premonitions before disappearing or suffering fatal accidents. And the more you learn about these cases, the harder it becomes to maintain a completely skeptical stance about the phenomenon. One of the most documented and disturbing cases occurred in 1996 in Scotland. A woman named Moira Anderson, 32 years old, began having recurring dreams about a specific bridge about 3 weeks before she disappeared. In the dreams, she saw herself standing in the middle of the bridge, looking at the dark water below, and felt a menacing presence approaching. From behind, she described the dreams as unlike any nightmare she had ever had, with an almost photographic quality of realism. Moira told her husband, her sister, and even mentioned it in a consultation with her doctor, saying that the dreams were affecting her sleep and causing anxiety during the day. What makes this case especially chilling is that Moira didn't recognize the bridge from her dreams. She lived in Edinburgh and knew the city's bridges well, but this one was different. It had specific characteristics she couldn't recall. 3 weeks later, Moira disappeared while returning from work. Her car was found abandoned on a secondary road, and weeks later, her body was discovered in a river, about 50 kilometers from where the car had been found. And here's the blood-curdling part. When the police investigated the area, they found an old bridge over that river. A bridge that exactly matched the descriptions Moira had given of her dreams. The same rusty iron structure, the same old lampposts, even the specific curvature she had mentioned. The case was never fully solved. There was evidence that she wasn't alone when she died, but no suspect was formally charged. What remains a mystery is how Moira dreamed of a specific place where her body would be found, a place she had apparently never visited before. Investigators checked her history, interviewed people, and found no prior connection to that remote area. Another fascinating and equally disturbing case occurred in Japan in 2008. A university student named Kenji Yamamoto, 24 years old, began documenting a series of tormenting dreams on a personal blog. He was an engineering student, an extremely rational person, and skeptical about the supernatural, which makes his accounts even more credible. Kenji described in his blog posts that he was repeatedly dreaming about a train accident. He saw specific details, the platform number, the exact color of the train, even the time on the station clock showing 7:43 in the morning. What is particularly impressive about Kenji's case is that he had a public blog, so there are dated and verifiable records of everything he wrote about the dreams. He wasn't recounting these stories after the fact. He was documenting them in real time. In the posts, Kenji expressed confusion and even a certain humor about the dreams, saying that his rational mind couldn't accept that it was a premonition, but at the same time, it couldn't ignore the persistence and vividness of the images. 2 weeks after his last post about dreams, Kenji disappeared. He had left home to go to university and never arrived. Days later, his body was found on the train tracks, in circumstances that the police classified as suspicious. The investigation never conclusively determined whether it was an accident, suicide, or a crime. But here's the detail that makes you question everything. The accident happened on platform number 7, involving a train on the line he had described, and the estimated time of death was around 7:40 a.m., almost exactly what he had seen in his dreams and publicly documented weeks before. And there is a third, more recent case from 2015 in the United States. A nurse named Sarah Mitchell, 39 years old, began to have what she called visions during the day. Not just nighttime dreams. She described a sensation of being in a specific underground parking garage with flashing fluorescent lighting, numbered concrete pillars, and an overwhelming sense of danger. Sarah was so affected by these visions that she sought psychological help, believing she might be developing some kind of mental disorder. She discussed these experiences extensively with her therapist, and there are detailed clinical records of their sessions. Sarah even drew a layout of the parking lot during one of the sessions, marking where she felt the danger was. The therapist, following ethical protocols, encouraged Sarah to consider that it could be anxiety manifesting visually, perhaps related to some unprocessed trauma. 3 months later, Sarah disappeared after leaving the hospital where she worked. Her car was found in an underground parking lot at a shopping center where she occasionally shopped. And when they compared the security footage from the parking lot with the drawings Sarah had made in therapy sessions, the match was eerie. She had drawn the exact layout, including the numbering of the pillars and even the position of the security cameras. Sarah was never found, and the case remains unsolved. What these 3 cases have in common with Amanda's is that we're not talking about vague premonitions or generic feelings of danger. We're talking about specific, verifiable details documented before the events happened. And this creates a pattern that is impossible to completely ignore, no matter how much you want to cling to rational explanations. There are researchers who dedicate their careers to studying these phenomena. Some maintain databases of documented cases of precognition, trying to find patterns, trying to understand if there are specific conditions that facilitate these experiences. There are theories about altered states of consciousness, about people who naturally have a different perception of time, about moments of crisis where the barrier between present and future becomes more permeable. The emotional impact of these cases on families is devastating in a unique way, because in addition to the pain of loss, there is the torture of knowing that the loved one had some level of awareness about what was about to happen. There is the guilt of not having taken the premonitions seriously, of having dismissed them as anxiety or imagination. And there is the frustration of living in a society that lacks the structures to deal with this type of information, that offers no protection or support when someone says they are having visions of their own end. This journey through these cases forces us to confront hidden truths about the nature of reality that we would rather not face. It is more comfortable to live in a world where the future is completely unknown and open, where our dreams are merely random processing of memories. But what if it's not like that? What if some people, under certain circumstances, actually manage to see fragments of what is to come? Returning to the case of Amanda Torres, the reality is harsh and difficult to accept. Today, more than 3 years after that May 23rd, Amanda remains missing. Her body has never been found. There are no definitive answers about what happened to her after that audio recording captured the sounds of a struggle and then silence. The case remains officially open, classified as a disappearance with strong suspicion of violent crime, but without resolution. Raphael never married. He says he can't move on until he knows what happened to Amanda. He has become a kind of activist, working with families of missing persons, trying to bring attention to unsolved cases. In interviews, he always mentions Amanda's dreams, always emphasizing that she knew something was wrong, that she tried to warn, and that everyone failed to protect her. The guilt he carries is visible in every word he says. Amanda's parents, Donna Claudia and So Antonio, have visibly aged over the years. They keep her room exactly as it was the day she disappeared, hoping that one day she will return home. But that hope diminishes with each passing year without news. They created a foundation in Amanda's name, dedicated to supporting investigations into missing persons and researching phenomena of premonition. It's the way they've found to give some meaning to the devastating loss they suffered. The man found with the photos of the abandoned house was never formally charged. The evidence was too circumstantial. He spent several months under intensive investigation, but was eventually released. Today, he lives in another city, trying to rebuild his life under the shadow of suspicion that has never been completely dispelled. He insists on his innocence, but the fact that he photographed that exact location remains a coincidence that many consider impossible to ignore. The abandoned house where it all happened was demolished 2 years after the disappearance. The family that owned the land decided to sell the property, and the new owner felt that keeping that structure would be in bad taste, considering what had happened there. Today, there is an empty field in its place, covered in tall grass and wildflowers. Some people in the area say they avoid passing by there, that the place has a heavy energy, that it never seemed the same after that day. The words written on the wall, those 3 prophetic words in red ink, were extensively photographed by forensic experts before the demolition. The photos still circulate in online forums dedicated to unsolved mysteries, analyzed and discussed by people around the world, trying to understand the deeper meaning behind them. Who wrote them? Why? Was it a threat? A warning? A prophecy? Nobody knows. And this brings us back to the fundamental question that echoes throughout this story. Can our dreams truly show us the future? Or do they merely reflect our deepest fears, our anxieties, and through some complex psychological mechanism end up manifesting in reality in ways that make us believe in connections that don't exist? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. Science still can't fully explain even what dreams are, let alone whether they might have precognitive properties. We live in an era where we understand the mechanisms of the universe on unimaginable scales, from subatomic particles to distant galaxies, but the mysteries of human consciousness remain largely unexplored. What Amanda's case teaches us, regardless of which explanation you choose to believe, is that we should perhaps pay more attention when someone says they are having experiences they consider significant. We don't necessarily need to believe in premonitions to recognize that when a person is genuinely terrified, when they are trying to communicate something important, we deserve to offer more than skepticism and quick dismissal. Amanda tried. She really tried to warn the people around her. She documented everything, shared her experiences, sought help, and everyone, with the best intentions, said she was just anxious, stressed, imagining things. And maybe they were right from the point of view of conventional logic. But what if they weren't? What if that was a real opportunity to prevent a tragedy, and we all collectively as a society failed because we don't have the mental or social frameworks to deal with information that doesn't fit into our model of reality? This is the shift in perspective that cases like this can bring about in us. It's not necessarily about starting to believe in clairvoyance or supernatural powers. It's about recognizing that there is much more we don't know than we do know. And that epistemic humility, the willingness to say, I don't know, but I'll take it seriously, can be an important virtue. Amanda's journey behind the scenes of those last few weeks was the journey of someone trapped between worlds, between the rational and the inexplicable, between the desire to be taken seriously and the fear of being seen as crazy. How many people are living this same journey now? How many are having experiences they consider significant but are afraid to share because they know they will be ridiculed? The legacy of Amanda's case goes beyond the unsolved mystery of her disappearance. It's an invitation to rethink how we deal with the unknown, how we respond when someone tells us they are experiencing something that defies our normal categories of understanding. It's a reminder that empathy and attentive listening can be more important than having all the answers. And perhaps in the end, the question isn't whether premonitions exist or not. Perhaps the more important question is, if someone you love came to you tomorrow saying they had a disturbing dream that seemed too real to ignore, how would you respond? Would you offer only quick, rational explanations? Or would you stop, truly listen, and consider the possibility that there is more between heaven and earth than our philosophy dreams of? The case remains open. The family continues to wait for answers. And somewhere, perhaps, the truth about what happened to Amanda Torres is still waiting to be discovered. If this story changed something in you, if you now look at your own dreams and intuitions differently, write in the comments, I will pay more attention, because this final reflection leads us to one last question we need to consider together. Look, if you've made it this far with me, if you've followed every detail of this disturbing story from beginning to end, I truly want to thank you. It's not easy to delve into cases like this that affect us, that make us question things we'd rather leave in the comfort of certainty. But that's exactly why this channel exists, to bring real stories that take us out of our comfort zone, that make us think, that remind us that the world is much more complex and mysterious than we usually admit. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect time to do so. Because every week I bring you cases like this, stories that will make you question reality, unexplained disappearances, unsolved mysteries, phenomena that science still can't fully explain. And I do this with the same care and respect you saw here today, treating each case, each person involved, with the seriousness and humanity they deserve. And if you really stayed with me until the end, Leave a comment saying, "I stayed until the end." I read all the comments, every story you share, every reflection you leave. This community we are building together is what gives meaning to all this work. And look, many times the accounts you leave in the comments are as chilling as the cases I present here. Click the like button too, because that helps more people find this type of content. It helps the algorithm understand that stories like Amanda's deserve to be told, that real mysteries deserve our attention, and that there's an audience that isn't afraid to explore the darker, more inexplicable side of life. And before you go, there's a video over here that you need to watch. It's about another disappearance case, where the victim left clues that no one has been able to decipher to this day. It perfectly complements what we've discussed here. Click and continue with me there, because the journey through the mysteries of reality is just beginning. Until the next case.